All right, welcome back to Omni Garage. So if you didn't see last week's video, we were over in Hamilton at Duratuf's headquarters taking a tour of the manufacturing facility where they put together the Duratuf line of sheds. So what we've got here today, we're at the new property. We're going to walk around and just work out the placement of the shed here, walk through exactly why we picked up the shed that we did, being the KL3, and take you through Duratuf's, probably their market leading feature is the shed builder. So we'll walk you through what that looks like, what it is, and how it's going to help you find the right shed for your property. So if we shoot down this way here, this is a bit of a construction site at the moment. We're still about a month away from move-in, so ignore the mess that we've got here. We've got a bit of a gardening centre, a bit of a railway, and a bin at the back here, but this is the area that we're working with where we want to place the shed. Reason being, we've got the side access to the garage here, bit of a dead spot on the property. There's no windows facing out this way as well, so you're not looking out at it. Although the Duratuf sheds are really nice and you can match them to a lot of colour steel options. So this right here is where we want to place the shed. Obviously it's a bit of a mud pit at the moment. We can do a wooden floor on it, which is the option that we went for. So what we might do is we'll do a few measurements here, and then we'll pull the shed builder open and show you guys exactly how that works. Okay, so this is what I really loved about the Duratuf website. As soon as you go on here, you've got this option where you can click on build your shed. I'd never seen anyone do anything like this before, and what I really like about it is you can actually view your shed in AR as well. So you can literally use your iPad or your phone, stand back and look at what the shed would look like in your space.
And that's exactly why you would do this, right? Because you're down here, we've got the area that we want to build the shed. We're not sure what kind of size we want or what's going to fit in the space, but you can come out here with your iPad, or you can even come out here with your phone, go onto the Duratuf website, and you can literally configure the shed that you need for the space that will fit you the best.
Exactly, because Duratuf have a huge range of sizes that they offer, but then they also have their full timber frame, their semi-timber frame. So probably the way to do this on the website is jump into the range and the size and select what we want. So we're wanting to go for the full timber frame. I really like that because it makes attaching things to the walls easy. You've got a lot of bracing points, also gives you that rigidity in it as well. You know, makes your shed really strong. I think it makes the building process a bit easier as well. So we're going full timber frame, and then we get options of the roofs. So we've got the skillet roof, the lean-tos, and then the gables. So we have it's only a 5-degree pitch on the roof of the property here, and I want to match this boxiness as much as we can. So hence I think the lean-to roof is something that's going to work best in the space here. And I think that's something you'd probably tailor to suit your property.
Suit your needs. And I mean, if you were going to put the shed up against the flat, you know, this fence here,
yep, then
that's probably where you want to. A lean-to. I don't know what a gabled roof would look like here, but I would say in this specific needs here for this would be the lean-to would probably look the nicest.
Yeah, and then you've got a couple of options. So the lean-to is the one that slopes to the back, so your higher point is at the front of the shed, and your skillet roof is the one that slopes to the front. So you can pick either way you want that to go, and then you've obviously got your gable, which is higher in the middle. So what we've got here is we've got a range of options with the lean-to. So we've got 3, 6, 9, we've got 10 different pre-configured options on the website in terms of sizes. And looking at this space here, it's longer than it is deep. So I don't think I want to be putting anything too deep in here.
Yeah, so here we start to get where it's quite narrow here, and then as we walk along there it gets wider and wider and wider. Bearing in mind that here we do have a door that you'd want to sort of, it's up to you whether or not you want to walk straight out of the garage onto the shed, or if you want to slightly offset it maybe further down here.
So we've got 1.1 meters on the path, and then I guess at the smallest point where you're pointing out here, you wouldn't go any further, but at the smallest point here, taking those posts away, you got about 1 to 50. So I think at a realistic spot where you want to start the shed, you've got this door that will be swinging open, which will swing all the way down here. You probably wouldn't want to come any further than here, and I want to set it back as well. So if you went just from this crack here, we've got about 4.2 meters to play with up into the cut in the concrete. And if you were to come straight off here before you start getting too close to that wall there, you've got 1.8 meters comfortably. So with the area we're working with here, given it's wider than deep, I think we want to go with a reasonably wide shed in this area. Something to be mindful of when you're selecting your shed as well is if you do go for something quite narrow, it can limit your door options. So if you're wanting access via 2 doors that open up. Depending on what you're moving in and out of the shed, you probably do need to play around with the shed builder a little bit to make sure that it will accommodate the type of door that you want. So we've obviously got a couple of steps. We've got choose your category, which is essentially the type of framing that you're going for, which category your shed's in. Then we've chosen our roof style, so we know...
So go back to the category, we've chosen full timber. If you do go into some of the other categories, which we won't touch on, some of those options don't have windows and they have other options that aren't available, right? So just be a bit mindful, but you can find that out as you do come down the Shed Builder app.
Yeah, and then we've got the roof option that we need to choose. So again, what style you want to go for. And then it comes into the size, the space, taking into the considerations that Glenn just covered around the windows, the door limitations as well. So for this area here, we've probably got 3 different options. We know, because we've already got the shed, KL3 is going to be the option for us. It gives us a whole lot of ranges of modifications we can do to the shed as well through the Duratuf builder here.
So what's the smallest size shed in that range?
So the smallest size in the KLs will be the KL1, which is 1.715 by 1.2. I think the 3 that I'd toss up for this area here is the Tough 200. So it's 1.98 by 0.855. So it's
long,
narrower. It's long, but it's
not
the
as
least
deep.
Yeah, the least deep. You know, you've only got 0.855.
So what would that look like? So if you were to measure that out here, what would that look like in the area?
So that one there, 0.85. So it'd be 1.98 and 855. So it'd be 855. This will be our depth.
So that's not very deep, is it?
It's not very deep.
So if you're thinking about putting maybe some shelving in there, or you were thinking about putting a lawnmower or something like that, you would probably limit your space.
And that would be our width.
I mean, you could stack a small lawnmower up in that.
Yeah, you'd be folding your, your Ryobi or your Ego lawnmower. I'm standing it upright in there. You wouldn't have a whole lot of room. You'd essentially be coming in, you'd be turning right, turning left.
And you've had that smaller shed before?
I've had that small shed. In fact, I think I may have had slightly smaller than that, but it wasn't very deep. I think I had, yeah, it wasn't even a metre deep.
So if you are pushed for space and that's all you can do, well, that's fine. But I'd recommend that if you were going to put some tools in there, you know, your garden equipment, you probably want to try and get something a little bit deeper just so you've got that more room. Otherwise, you do have to prioritise space and you do have to stack, maybe stack, unstack, restack, and that can be a little bit of a nuisance.
It's frustrating. You want to be able to walk in and be able to have something in front of you, not just use that as walking space, I think.
And then they've got a narrow shed, but very deep, don't they? Yeah,
they do. So I think the deepest one there is, there's a whole range of different options here, but we've got a 1.14 wide by 1690 deep. So we've got this one here, which is the Tough 100. So 1140 by 1690. So relatively deep shed there. And then I think the other option that may work in this area here is the KL2, which is 2545 by 1210. So the difference between the KL2 and the KL3 is the depth is the same, about 1.21 metres.
So what does that look like on the depth?
It's the width, so 1.21. So the KL2 or the 3, we're going to be this deep on both. So we've got enough room to step in and have something on that back wall.
Yeah.
And then the differences in those are the width between the 2 models. So your KL2 is 2.545 and the KL3 is 3.380. So looking at the KL2, 2.545. So you would come out $2,545. That would be your width. If you were going with the KL2 shed.
Yeah.
And then the other shed option we've got will be the KL3, which goes to 3.38. So it pushes this out by about another 800. 3.38.
So what you're really lucky about here is that you've actually got a decent amount of space.
Yeah, there's a lot of space here.
And you're going to fill most of that space with the shed in this sort of area here.
Yeah, the way I think it'd work is I'd bring it right to the end here. So I'd have the shed finish in line with the concrete pad here. Gives you the space around coming out the door, and I'd set it back. So I'd start my shed probably about here. So you've got one step off into the shed, and that gives you an interesting angle behind the shed as well, with that triangle there to put things like your wheelbarrow, maybe some dirty spades.
Ladder or something like that.
Yeah, hide those away. So then it gets really exciting on the website. So we've selected the shed type that we want, and then we get the opportunity in here to have a look at doors and windows.
And bearing in mind that different sheds will have different door and different maybe window configurations.
They will. So what I found with the KL3, because it's really wide, you get a lot of door options and window options as well.
Whereas the small, narrow but deep shed, I don't think you've got a window option there, but you've just got one single door placement.
Yeah, we've got 14 options.
And that's what's really good about this app, right, is that you can put your configured size and stuff in there, and you go, oh, I don't like quite like that option, or maybe I'm interested in this. So it definitely pays to have a play through the menu options and see what you get, because what I started off, because I did exactly this, what I started off with is not what I ended up with.
What's cool about this as well is you can save your spec of your shed and pick back up. So you could go in here, configure 3 completely different sheds for your space, save them, and then you could go out, have a look, work through those options. Once you decide which one you want, you can jump straight back into the website and your configuration is saved in there, ready to order as well. So we've got 15, 4, 8, 12, 14. 14 different door options for the shed. So we can go double doors, we can put our door on the side and have a window, we can put the door on the side and have a slightly different window. We can door on the side, no window. We can move the door slightly, have a window. All sorts of different configurations, which is great because depending on how you want to use your shed and how you want to configure your space, you've got so many different ways that you can play around with this. I think for me, the bigger shed, I want to go with the double doors because just better access to it. You can slide them open. The thing that's key as well is I want to slide these doors. I don't want doors swinging out on me.
So that's the problem with me, right? When I configured my shed, I've only got a very narrow space. So
you need a slide.
So if I had a door that would open outwards, like a swinging door like this door here next to you, I've got to make sure that I justify or that I account for the door coming out because I've got that extra width, okay?
Yeah.
Sliding doors, you're right, means that you can just slide them into the cavity and you don't have to worry about how much depth you've got. So if that's an option for you or if that's an issue for you, then I recommend maybe having more of a slide door.
And this is the option in here, right? So when we go and select our double door, we've got 2 options. We've got easy glide sliding double with a 1650 opening, or you can change it to the hinge double door. Same opening, 1650. So exactly as Glenn said, depending on your space, you can configure it. You can go, no, I do want hinge doors here because I want to be able to pin them back. Or you can go with the sliding door options, but 14 different options here.
And I think also, have you got maybe a single, is there a single door on a slide and a single door option rather than a double?
Yeah, there is, yep. So you can go single door slide, or you can change in here to the hinge. The interesting thing with the windows in here, if we went with a shed that had a window, you can actually edit that and you can change it from a fixed window to a louvered window to get some airflow through there. I think it's really nice to have that option to customize in here as well. And on the shed builder, it updates live as we go as well.
Just going back to the doors though, if you go for the single door option, you've got less space to get your lawnmower in and out of, but you actually may have more wall space on that side. If you go for a double door opening, you lose a little bit of wall space, but if you've got slightly wider tools or you want a little bit more ease in and out, then that may be an option for you.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the reason that I don't mind so much is because we're going for the really wide shed, so I don't mind losing essentially double that door space to have them sliding. I prefer to be able to comfortably walk in and out without needing to,
I think I configured a single door.
Okay.
But I wanted more space for shelving and a little bench.
Yeah, see, that wall space was key for you. And the great thing about this is that it's fine. If that's what you want, you can go and do that.
Okay, so the last part here, I suppose, is choosing if you want windows or not. And so I think for this shed, you can either have windows on the sides of the shed, you can have windows on the back. And what's really cool about the 3D app here is that, I suppose if you've got a touch screen, you can spin the shed round. So if you want a windows on the side, spin the shed round to the side, click on the panel, and that will give you the options for the windows on the side. Yeah,
I mean, how cool is that to be able to spin this in real time and go, hey, look, yeah, let's put a couple on the back. Actually, no, we just want a center one. And then same, change the side. You know, we want to allow some light in from this way, so we want a window here, but this end, we don't want a window. So the customization through here is endless. I think something to keep in mind, the more windows you add, again, the less wall space you're going to have unless you're happy to stack in front of it.
Well, those windows are quite high, so you could probably get a little low bench, but you're right, you've lost a bit of wall hanging space, essentially.
But it's one of those things that you need to consider as you're going through this process, and hence why we recommend building a few different configurations and then working out how you're going to use the shed and how it's best going to suit you.
And then you've either got a fixed window or you've got the louver.
You do. So if we go on the side here,
that's a window that's a louver, isn't it? It's not like a, you know, it's not. It's see-through because it's glass, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You can't do that on some of the windows. Actually, no, we can. So we can change it. It's a louver. It's 4-blade louver.
Four-blade glass paneling louvers.
Yep.
But some of those modern houses, I think you've got a couple on here where you've got those louvers that are actually not really see-through. They're kind of like...
They're aluminum.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's essentially the same colour as the joinery. You can go with clear ones. We just decided not to on here. We wanted to keep
these
it black,
are these are
glass.
Clear glass louvers, and the windows are a fixed glass. Yeah. So what did you go for?
What we've gone with on here is no windows.
Okay.
So we've gone really basic.
Yeah.
So we've got the double doors, sliding double doors, and no windows anywhere around this. When we get into the accessories, we have got another way that we're going to put some light into it.
Yeah, I went for no windows as well. Just, I don't know, but for me, I just didn't want anyone looking inside the shed.
Yeah.
And it's going to be locked up most of the time anyway, and I'd have to be cautious about the louvers. It would allow a little bit of airflow, but if I want airflow, I open the door up.
Yeah, I find it's quite easy too. If you want lighting in there, we'll open the doors, or there's a lot of good solar light options now as well, or you could run power to it, and you could charge all of your tools and everything in there as well. So.
And then I also didn't want dirt and dust and stuff growing on the windows, and I'd have to clean them. It's just another
maintenance job.
Maintenance job,
Yep.
Yeah. So that's an option, that's why I chose not to have it.
So then we've got the colour option, and this is really cool. So you can do two-tone if you want to try and do a different colour door to the main body of the shed.
Yep.
Or you can go fixed colour. So the way that this works through the shed builder is you can select your wall and your trim colours. So if I'm in here and I select this one here, gold grey, then I can also choose my trim to be different. So what we mean by the trim is the roof and the doors. We can configure those as to what we want. For this shed, we've gone with a single colour option. So it's one tick box here, and we have gone for ebony. And they have to match the wall and the trim. You'd need to custom select those. We've gone all black. The other great thing about the shed builder is you're not guessing about the price as well. As you're adding options in here, at the top of the page, it's giving you your estimate pricing. So you're not going to get to the end and go, oh my goodness, that's what I've priced up. You're going to know as you go along the way, which may impact some of your decisions that you'll make when it comes to the accessories for the shed as well.
Now, a thing that Glenn and I discussed with the guys at Duratuf when we were there was around the colour.
Yep.
Because it's very hard for you to choose a colour of your shed and match it to the house. So, you know, you were thinking about where you wanted to go, and then you're trying to match it to the back here. It's like, oh, what does that look like? Now, if you go back and have a look at that video, you can see us walk through, and you can see all the colour options that we showed you guys in real time. And the guys at Duratuf said that they spent a lot of time to get those colours 100%. Well, not quite 100%, but very close to the real life colour that you would expect.
Yeah, what they did say as well is if you go into your local stockist of Duratuf, they should have swatches in there as well of the colours so you can actually see them in real life. They also said feel free to reach out to them directly. They're happy to send out a sample if necessary if you need to match it.
And those samples are accurate. Yeah, very accurate.
They have come off the production line, so they are cutting them out of the same material they are using to build the sheds. Really easy here. We went with ebony trim on the house, given it's a brand new build, so we know what we've got. But if you had an existing property, you weren't too sure about the exact specifications, I think you want to spend a little bit more time making sure you get your colour combo right, especially when your shed's so close to a house as well. Probably doesn't matter as much if it's right down the end of your garden, away from the house, but if you were walking straight out onto it and wanted it to look right, I think that's quite important.
So something to be mindful when choosing the colour of your shed here, that although this is a really customizable option that Duratuf have given you, you know, you can go through and you can select your size and you can fit it to your space. There is some point where customization cannot be unlimited, and Duratuf have made a little bit of a decision about some of the colors that you can choose. Now, if you're going to go for a two-tone type shed, you know, you wanted the outside cladding to be different than the door, then that limits your options a little bit more. They have selected only a couple there, so that's something to be mindful here. You've gone full black, but I chose a two-tone, and I found it a little bit difficult to try and match up the two-tone. You do become a little bit limited there, I think.
Well, you just weren't too sure exactly what the colours were in your house, right? So you were trying to go based on what you thought was going to match.
Yeah.
So if you got a new build, a lot easier to match, but I think I'd encourage you to have a look at the website, look at the colour options to get a base idea, and then shoot in or request a sample, and then you can get it exactly spot on.
All right, so moving down here, now that we've chosen the shed size, what kind of roof we want, and then we've chosen our colour, we come down to step 4, which is flooring, accessories and assembly. And Yeah, you're right. What I like about this is that every option you're tabbing up the bill and you can see how much you're costing and where those costings are allocated if you did have a bit of a tight budget. I think that's really quite cool. So our flooring options are for this particular shed is no floor.
Yep.
So, interesting here. If you were to go for no floor, it would be on something dirt like this.
Yep. Or you'd need to make your own flooring.
Or you'd need to make your own flooring, right? So maybe you had maybe you wanted to build it yourself, like a pallet like this, or you had a pre-laid concrete slab. Okay. Well, that's the next option down actually, is that if you're laying your own concrete pad. Now, if we click on that, what I really like about this is that you need to make sure that if your concrete slab is being poured, it needs to be 15 millimeters smaller than the shed footprint.
That's to allow for that overhang, isn't it?
Yes, because the steel cladding on the sides will overhang over the sides, and that will basically make it a little bit, I guess, more weather tight. So what I really like about this is that they do tell you the specs for that sort of stuff so that you can get it right. And if you do opt for that concrete floor option, if we do go into the Kiwi shed, it does say here that you will require a raised floor modification, which is also built into the accessory package.
Yes, they're not going to let you build a shed that's not going to work with the floor configuration you want. I think the great thing is they offer their own timber flooring kit, which is what we've gone for.
Which is what you've gone for.
Because we know it's going to work. Simple.
And that fits inside the shed, so we don't have to account for any extra overhang or anything like that. It's just made specifically for the footprint of that shed. And then there's some additional options here. So clear roof panel on one side. So I guess that would allow a lot of light to come in over the top. Have you opted for that?
Yeah, we've gone with that option there. So that's the way we're getting light into the shed. Rather than putting windows on it, we've just gone that clear roof panel. So that
have you just got one? Or
just the one.
Right in the middle?
I believe it's in the middle.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that though. I'm not too sure until
we'll find out when
we'll find out. But I think it's going to give us that light without impacting on wall space, which I'm excited about.
So I didn't go for that option. And the reason why I didn't go for that option is I would have liked to have more light in, but also I don't want to look up in 3 years' time and see that moss and that faded plastic kind of look with bird droppings all over it. I just didn't want to see it. It's kind of like a skylight in a house.
It is, yeah.
You know, when you look up on a skylight that's been there for 5 or 10 years, you look up and it's quite gross to look at. So I opted for that to not be in, so that's something that you might want to think about. The quick Kiwi raised floor modification, well, we don't need that because you haven't got the poured concrete floor.
Correct. We've got the wooden flooring. So
did you go for the peg down kit?
No peg down kit.
Okay.
No peg down kit.
You hope that your shed's not going to blow away?
You're going to have a lot of weight with Ryobi tools in there.
So the peg down kit is basically some treated pegs that go into the corners and a couple in the middle, I guess, and it just allows you to bolt your shed to some pegs that you would slam into the dirt. They're kind of like a tent, right? Guide ropes on a tent is kind of how I imagine that to be.
Yeah, we're going to fill it with lots of heavy tools, so we'll be right there.
So if you lived in an area where you had high winds and things like that and you want a little bit more security around that, then that might be an option for you. 200mm extra wall height. Did you go for that option?
Went with that option there.
Yeah.
And that's really just to give some headroom so you're not having to duck when you're inside the shed, just so you can really comfortably stand and work in there without feeling too claustrophobic as well.
Yep.
It gives you that extra wall height to hang things as well.
Yep.
So I like the idea of hanging spades or hanging weed eaters or edges.
Yeah, and it just doesn't feel so close in. I will give you a recommendation here though. So how I've configured my shed, I think I did go for 200mm wall height, but you have to think about this. Now, if you were putting this against the side of your house and you looked up and your roof overhang, what's that called?
Oh, we don't have it here.
You don't have it here,
but it's your eaves.
Eaves that overhang.
So no eaves.
Now, I don't necessarily think this is a problem for most houses, but you've got to be a bit mindful that if you chose to have the extra 200mm wall height and you were putting it under an eave or something like that, just be mindful that you measure out your height just to account for that.
Yeah, you don't want to put it up against your eave and find it doesn't tuck underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to measure that and just make sure we're all good at our place. So I did go for that extra. Battery shed alarm, did you go for that?
Didn't go with the alarm.
That's just a little bit of security around that. These sheds do have lockable doors on them. I think all of them come with a lock.
They do. They come with a lock, and there is an option to upgrade your door security as well. So I didn't go with the alarm. There's going to be a camera covering it out here, so I feel like that's enough security in itself.
Oh yeah, the door security Kiwi upgrade. It's just like a door alarm. Your door locks and key locking handle, so it's an upgrade there just to make it a little bit more secure. So you didn't go for that either.
The door security upgrade?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yeah, and I think it makes it a bit easier as well for one armed operation. What I mean is if you've got your hands full,
Yeah.
I think you can push your arm down on it, much like it's a regular door handle.
Yes, it does say easy to open with one hand if you're holding an armful of gear. So that's quite good. I think I chose that option actually. Kiwi Locker tool board. Did you go for that?
Didn't go for any tool boards.
And that's just if you had like a bunch of Ryobi tools and you wanted to place them all out on there, then they allow you to have that accessory that you can have. I didn't choose that either. I want to see what I've got, see what the shape of the shed looks like, and place my stuff before I go ahead and have that put in there, and I'll do something more custom there. So if you're not so handy with that sort of stuff, maybe that's an option for you. If you want to see, wait, work it out, have a couple of hoons with it before you put all your stuff in and see what you've got, then maybe don't get that.
Yeah, I went with that option and also a tool bench option on a previous Duratuf shed that I did, and I was really happy with them.
Yeah.
They were big sheds though, much bigger than this one here. So I want to do my own storage solution in here, hence why I didn't go with that option.
And you're right, the other option is a built-in workbench. It's not I don't think it makes up the whole shed, it just takes up a little, there's just a section.
Yeah, it took up the right hand side of the shed that I had, and I was really happy with that, but you need a lot of space. The good thing about that is that it's floating. So you've got the room underneath it where you still can store things. So I used to keep the lawnmower and all sorts under the workbench. But
I went with the workbench option, and because I sort of want to have a little bit of a workspace that I can do bits and pieces with it, and then I did want an area underneath where I can store the lawnmower, so I did opt in for that option. And then there's a couple of additional accessories, which is a bolt-down kit, but this is only if your shed is attached to a concrete floor base. The bolt-down kit allows you to anchor the shed to the concrete. We don't have that option here, and so those are the additional accessories that we've chosen. So
in summary, on the shed that we've gone with, we have gone for the door security upgrade, we've gone for the wooden flooring kit obviously, we've gone for that clear roof panel, and the extra 200mm roof height as well. So what's that, four options all up? 1, 2, 3, 4 options, yep, sure is. And the estimation for the shed is 3,106. Yeah, so we know straight away exactly what we're on the hook for when we're going out and looking to purchase this.
And now that I've got all my options in here, I can see right where we've put the windows, where the little thing at the top of the roof would go, how the doors open and things like that. The only downside to this app though is you can't go inside the shed.
No, but there is a really cool feature that I don't think you've discovered yet.
Oh, have I not?
I'll show you.
Okay, so now that we've configured the shed, we've chosen where we want our windows, the colour and things like that, we can now bring our shed and we can plonk it into the space that we are wanting to build and place this shed. And so we've come round from around the back there just to show you this, and I think this is a really neat feature to help you visualise the shed that you've built. And so you come on here, you go view in your space, and it essentially plonks the shed right in the middle here.
So we've placed the shed in the middle of the lawn there, and we can actually physically walk around now and have a look at what this would look like in any particular space. So we can go all around the side of it, we can walk around the back of the shed, and it really gives us a true representation of what that shed is going to feel like within any space. What do you think about that feature?
I think it's really cool.
This is something that companies like Apple are on, right? So you can visualize their new products, you can put their new laptop on your desk. For a shed company, this is a super cool use of the technology.
This is why you build your shed with Duratuf, because you can visualize exactly this. And I think if you got to this point and you're like, oh look, hey, I don't quite like that, or I wish I'd gone for the two-tone here because that would look slightly nicer in our area here, or oh, a window on that side would be good because I know that we get a bit of sun over there, or things like that. That is really good, and I think that's a really key element to help you make sure that you're choosing the right shed for your space.
And there's another really cool feature on there as well. So if we click on it and go away from AR and click on object, this is where you want to get a bit more detail-y, right? So you want to look up close at different things on the shed. So the way that you can manipulate this now is you can go around in 360 degrees and you can zoom in.
So now that we've gone through the Shed Builder app here, we can now work out how much it's going to cost. This one specifically is 3,106. You can come down here, save my shed, and that will basically send, I guess it's an email or a notification to Duratuf, and they'll be able to order that shed. They contact you and you can order that, and then they can get it built and sent out to you. So I think it's a really easy and simple process using this app, and the key features are that you can actually see the shed in almost real life as you work through building this.
So one of the great things is that once you've gone through the shed builder process, selected your configuration, you'll receive an email once you save that from Duratuf. It'll have the full configuration and the build cost of your shed. What we found as well, when we went through this process, because we did it quite a few times to try and fine tune exactly what we were after, we actually received a phone call a couple of days later from Duratuf asking how we got on with the process, did we have any questions about the shed builder, and also offering to help us find a local reseller because Duratuf don't sell direct. I thought that was a really nice touch that Duratuf added on there. Just that personable follow-up phone call. You're speaking with someone real from the organisation who's willing to help, and then also helping you find somewhere to go and purchase the shed, along with having that email saved with your exact spec and the cost. Super handy, kept the process nice and simple. So there we go, that's the shed builder process in action, and I think some of the highlights there is that it gives us that live cost as we're going and adding our various options into the shed. And I love the ability for us to place the shed in virtual reality and walk around it virtually, manipulate it on screen. I think that's a super cool feature and a way that's going to help you find not only the right size shed for your space, but probably the right color combo as well to see what matches the surroundings. So although the shed's not on site with us here today, huge thanks to Duratuf for supporting us through the series and supplying the shed to us free of charge. We're going to be bringing the shed down to site very shortly once we manage to get this mud pit and all of the stuff out of the way, and we've got a clean surface to work with here. And we'll bring you guys along the journey as we put it together, show you guys hopefully how easy it is to build a Duratuf shed. We've been told from the guys that we should be able to put a shed like this together in a matter of hours. So single day project, and we should be hanging tools in there. So huge thanks for watching. If you haven't seen the last video, we actually did a tour of the Duratuf factory and talked through some of the ways that they put these sheds together, including some of the materials that they use. We also looked at all of the colors, so go and check that video out. But otherwise, make sure you hit subscribe to stay tuned for the build process. Thanks for watching.